Malcolm the Jester is broken free. He now controls the Kyra gem, source of all the magic in Kyrandia. Once a favorite of the court, he killed the king and seized the gem. Imprisoned by the royal mystics, Malcolm was held for 18 years. But now the mystic spell has slipped, and vengeful Malcolm enjoys free reign.
You dare trip me? But no, something special for you, a humorous hex. But I shall give fair warning, don't jump on that tree. Ooh! 'Tis funnier that way, is it not?
Dear Bryn, Malcolm has broken free. Soon, he will come for me. Please help Brandon.
Greetings, Calic, powerful leader of the Royal Mystics. Did I frighten you?
Malcolm, I heard yesterday of your escape, and have expected you before now.
Why would I rush? I rule this land. Your puny curse restrains me not.
So, slay me now. I have little magic left.
I mean to harm you, have no doubt. Now you are stone, yet I leave your eyes. I shed no tears for Kyrandia, but cannot deny you yours.
I always loved doing that. Grandfather, what happened to you?
Alright, welcome back to another Let's Play Sierra game. Wait a minute. Legend of Kyrandia is not a Sierra game. What am I doing? So, the situation being is I had spent way too long playing Lighthouse. So if you saw my little channel update, I got to a part in Lighthouse where you have to hit a lever and it turns the digger / train tracks, and on mine it would just freeze and turn into a not an hourglass, just a lighthouse of death where everything just froze, nothing became clickable. Tried restoring to a previous game right before this happened, tried to get back to where I was, did it again, restored further back and went to the train thing, and I was able to turn it, no problem. So something between what happens there and where I get to that point seems to be breaking, because I repeated all my stuff in, I'm assuming, somewhat close same order. And when I got to that portion to turn the tracks at that part again, it froze. So I reached out to GOG, because I was playing the GOG version, and said, hey, this is what's happening. And they're like, try this, try this, try that. Don't do this, don't do that. Try this, try this. After trying a number of things, most of which I'd already tried. For example, I tried just, rather than using the shortcut that the installation provides, I actually launched ScumVM, which is what it was using to run the game, updated ScumVM, then mapped to where the game was to say, hey, run the game, just to see if a update from ScumVM would fix it, which it did not. I tried a couple of different things. Like originally I was playing off of my external drive. They said don't do that because it's going to be an issue. And I was like, that can't be the issue because I can hit restore and go to a previous game. So it's not like it's having an issue. But to satisfy their troubleshooting, I moved it to my C drive, tried that, still didn't work. Eventually the guy was like, send me your save games and I'll see what I can do. And that was over 5 days ago. And I shot him an email and said, hey, I already probably know the answer, but any luck? And still haven't heard back. So I thought, well, you know what? I want to keep doing something. Let's play just another game. I thought, you know what? One of the games that I really love from a different company is Legend of Kyrandia. It ran for 3 games. There is the first one, which doesn't really have a name. I think it's just Fables and Fiends. And then the second one is The Hand of Fate. And then the third one is Malcolm's Revenge. In the intro, you saw Malcolm, not a nice guy. And this one you play, I believe his name is Brendan, or Brandon. It's hard on how they pronounce it. But anyway, Legend of Kyrandia is a game that I've always really, really enjoyed. It plays very similar to King's Quest. As a matter of fact, when they released Legend of Kyrandia, on the back it said, if you enjoyed King's Quest, you'll enjoy Legends of Kyrandia. And they had a lawsuit against them come from Sierra saying, hey, you can't do that. Like, we gave you no right to basically use our name to promote your game. And so they repackaged the Legend of Kyrandia game on the box that says, hey, this is not from Sierra and it's not related to King's Quest. Our bad. But it does play very, very similar to King's Quest. The one thing that is very different is the inventory slots are limited. So you only have 10 slots, and more than frequently, you're going to have way more than 10 items you have to carry. And unlike Sierra games, you can actually drop these items safely on any screen. So that was very, very different. It is all voice acted, which is great. The person who plays the main character, Brendan, is absolutely great. Like, some of his one-liners are really, really fun. Like when you click on the vase, he goes, oh, I thought I put my slippers there. Totally not actually related to the game, but it does relate towards the end where something happens. But it's just a lot of fun things like that. Now, this game, I don't think you can dead end in this game. Not that I'm remembering, where you can get so far, but then you can't go back. It might be possible towards the end if you forget an item, because I can't remember if you can get back. You probably can't get back because you won't have a potion. So yes, I guess technically you can still dead end at the end. Sorry. I was thinking that you couldn't dead end in this game because you can just drop and pick up your potions. But there is a part in the first one where you use something to go across to a different island and you have to do some stuff. So anyway, love Legend of Kyrandia. I'm probably going to play 2 and 3 as well, just to knock them out. I'll probably play other similar Sierra type games to put on this channel. So, for example, Blue Force, which was actually made by Jim Walls, who created Police Quest. He had left Sierra to go to Tsunami and made Blue Force there, which is also actually a pretty good game. And then there's another game that tried to kind of capture that Leisure Suit Larry feel. And that was the Less Manly games. The first one I've played a number of times. The second one I've only played like a few times. So at some point, those will probably end up on this channel too, just because they're very similar to Sierra style type games. So anyway, the main story here is Malcolm has escaped from his 18-year prison. He has turned against the wizards who imprisoned him. He's angry about it, makes sense. He is a jester who killed the king and queen, which happens to be Brennan's parents, but he doesn't know that yet. And he goes around just causing sheer havoc, and now the mages, many of them have been turned to stone or something has happened. So now it's Brendan's quest to go find what to do. So he finds a note from his grandfather who says, hey, do what you can to stop Malcolm and, go to this mage and please help Brandon, who's you. And that is where we're at. Now, along the way, you'll find just random stones on the floor. They're like gemstones, so you'll want to pick them up. And if you drop them somewhere, make note of where you drop them. A good idea is if you find a screen that you find yourself at frequently, drop them there. But if it's the gemstones, there is actually a place where I would recommend dropping them because you have to do something, which is where this wizard will eventually tell you, hey, you know what? In order for you to get your power through the amulet, you have to put your birthstones in order. I just remember the sunstone is the first one or something like that. The rest of the stones are randomly chosen. So the other 3 stones that follow the first stone are all randomly chosen. So even if you watched this playthrough and you're like, oh, okay, like the ruby is second, the diamond is third, and the moonstone is fourth. And if you tried that combination, it may not work on your game because your game may have triggered a different order of those stones to be in. So, highly recommended. If you pick up the stones, save them until you get to the altar to drop off the birthstones. And then save, which is something I forgot to do, save before you put the birthstones in. Because if it's incorrect, it'll just show it like disappear. Looks like it gets disintegrated. And it reappears somewhere else on the screen and you have to go find it. Now, the first time I did this, even though I knew that happens, I forgot to save before I started putting them in order. So I ran back and got them, and then I saved right before I started putting them in. So now you have a quest where this old man says, hey, you know, there's a bird. It has a wounded wing. If you could do something about it, that would be great. And when you walk around, you'll eventually find it. So there's this, speaking of the screen here with the pool, I knew that there was a stone here and it's in the water. And he kind of gives a clue when he talks and you click on the river. He goes, oh, that's a pretty stone in the water. But it took random clicking everywhere before I finally picked it up. So I thought maybe it's triggered later. I just remembered there was a stone that appears in that stream. Even though he seems to make an indication of it, I thought something had to trigger it coming loose. I do eventually get it, obviously, because I finished the game, but you'll see. Then one of the things you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go around and collect a walnut, and I think it's an acorn. Yeah. And we're going to do this because we have to plant something. Now, if you go to that ruby tree, where it's, and this, all right, let me back up here. So this is where you drop off the gems. So now I've made room for the walnut, but if you go up one screen from there and there is that ruby tree, make sure you have the first gem on your amulet to the right. Make sure you already have its power, because if you try to grab a ruby, a snake will bite you, and you have a very limited amount of time where you can heal yourself. And the first stone that you get once you do the birthstones in order, if I remember correctly, is the healing ability. So there is, as I said, a lot of wandering around because the stones are scattered all over the place and they are random. So if you watched it, for example, if it was on this screen, it wouldn't be there because there's a walnut there. But if it was on one of the screens I was on and you saw a stone there, it might not be in the same place for you because it is all randomized. And there's the injured bird right above the well. So you'll see me wander quite a bit, which what I'll do is since it's wandering, I'll just speed it up some until something relevant comes up to talk about. And that Dragonmouth cave, do not go in there until you're ready, because it is a maze and it is not fun. So there's the walnut, and then there's the acorn. You put those in there, drop a seed, and what will happen is a flower will sprout out, and you will need to talk to it. And he says, you know, oh, do you have anything for me? I am quite thirsty for my roots. And once you help him, he'll give you the first thing, which is the healing. So I was incorrect. I think the birthstone order will give you the second power, which is essentially retrieval. So there we go. We have the healing power. We heal the bird, and the bird drops a wing, and it flies off, joyfully singing. You'll want to obviously collect that feather, similar to King's Quest. Pick up anything that isn't nailed down. So as I said earlier, I walked by that screen, and there was no moonstone there. There was no stone there. So definitely a lot of wandering around, and typically on a screen where there isn't something that's already there. So like you won't find, as far as I know, a gemstone on any screen where that old man is or where the bird is. So that dragon maze that we just saw, as I said, don't go in there yet. It's a maze. For this playthrough, I just played this not too long ago, as it said in the comments of the long play. I think it was 2018. And what I did is I actually made a screenshot map of the entire maze. So when I played it for this one, I admittedly used that map. Just like my other game plays, I'm not using a walkthrough, but I did use my own map because that maze is atrocious. It's not only just a maze, but you have these fire berries that you have to kind of lay around to be able to access the next cave. And if you go into a cave and you don't have a fire barrier, or if there isn't already one laid down there, and you walk into darkness, you perish. Creatures in the cave will devour you. And part of the problem is, in terms of the map for Kyrandia, you see the snake bit me, click heal. And you can grab another one if you need it, but you don't really need it if you wanted to. The snake does come back eventually. The thing is, like with Kyrandia, I didn't use, I used a map for the maze, but I didn't use a map for the general layout. So a lot of times there was a lot of walking around, as I said, not just looking for gems, but sometimes just trying to remember how to get to things. You can ask my wife. I definitely have the worst sense of direction. And real quick, that note that where we were just on the screen, you'll want to pick up a tulip. And there's the stone that suddenly just appeared in the water. So you might have to talk to him, and he might have to tell you what the first stone is in order to pick it up. So you'll see I saved, and like they're all just disappearing, just to test out what the second stone is. So of those stones that I collected, none of them were the second stone. So there's clearly other stones to find somewhere around here. And they may not, you'll see, I'll cross over to the other side, because they may not just all be on that side. So right there, random stone. So now I have to search this side of the area as well to randomly walk around screens and see if I can find any additional stones, like the diamond. One trick you can do is if your inventory is full, you can actually click the direction to go off the map. So if I want to go to the right or whatever, you could still have an inventory item in your cursor. So you could technically carry 11 items. So now we know the diamond is second. So now we know that stone is the third. And there's the fourth. Oh, that's right. Sorry, I thought I'd get power here. It's actually a flute. One of these days, even though I just played it like 4 or 5 days ago and finished, I'll remember everything, I swear. There is something that we have to do at that well. First time you try to enter in the maze, Malcolm will appear, juggling knives and taunt you. Then he'll throw a knife. He'll miss, which is pretty amazing because he seems pretty adept at killing. You click the knife and throw it back at him, and he will retreat. Now, the flute that we just got will shatter the ice wall. I'm not sure how that works, maybe being a magical flute, but there you have it. Every time you see one of these bushes, I highly recommend picking up at least 3 berries, because I think 3 is the furthest you can actually go before they will burn out. So you can only move 3 screens. Even if you move back a screen, they only last for 3 screens. You can already see the first one is starting to die out. So this chasm we can't quite cross. And see, I've already... There are a number of times where I go through this and I'll doubt myself and restore. Even though I'm using the map, it's still very confusing because a lot of it is visually the same. And you can see I'm having fun with the save name of the doubt. See? So if you walk into a dark, mysterious cavern, this is what happens. I'll post a link to the map that I made and used. Although really most people nowadays just, because my videos really, because I don't use a walkthrough, I'm just kind of stumbling my way through. Most people should just use a walkthrough and don't use my video as a way to try to finish a game, because I'm not using a walkthrough, so there's a lot of chaos. One of the things you'll just notice is I just picked up a rock. Now we have to pick up 5 of them, because when we first entered the cave, I didn't mention it, but you step on the circular disc and the gate closes behind you, but you can see a scale weight that's just off to the side. And Brendan will throw the rocks to try to get them to go in to weigh the scale down, and you will need 5 rocks, because when he throws that 4th rock, something hilarious happens. Now, when you get to the Pantheon of the Moonlight, you just want to click on either one of them, and they'll talk about, hey, can you free me? And the other one says, well, I've been here longer, and they say that they came at the same time. And then Brendan basically says, what if I can help you both? And then they say, oh, then maybe we could both leave. So now you know you have to help the orbs. And something I've not realized, I think I will end up restoring eventually, is because you need 5 rocks and you still need to have room to carry the berries, that you should, as I said, it's safe to do, you should drop your inventory items somewhere safe. So, for example, I could have just dropped them in the cave, but I think I end up restoring back because I ended up getting sidetracked as to where I was supposed to be. I'm trying to remember if I restored, because this part of the game, there's actually some footage where I just didn't do it because I ended up in the cavern so many times. But it is a good idea to drop your items right outside the cavern so you have enough room, or even somewhere safe like this area. If you look closely, there's a gold coin on the ground, and then you can also pick up a rock here. The coin is very difficult to see. If you sit and watch, you'll see like a little twilight twinkle thing. But yeah, so yeah, here's where I restore and drop all my things. Gotta realize I need 5 rocks and I still need to carry a bunch of berries. Yeah, so saving the game as forgot about the rocks. Because 5 rocks is half your inventory right there. And you still need berries to keep walking around. So there's a circular disc you step on, the gate closes, the tumbler weight goes up. There is another game that I was just thinking of that has a very similar playstyle to kind of like a King's Quest / Quest for Glory kind of feel, if anyone has ever played Dragonsphere. I like that game, but there is a part with the fairies where one says they tell the truth, one color says that sometimes they tell the truth, one will say blue is always lying, that type of stuff. That part of the game is ridiculously hard to try to figure out who is telling what and who to believe and how to beat that riddle. That's another game, if I did play, I can't imagine trying to do that fairy thing again, because it was sincerely difficult and insane. Because in order to even do it, it's not like you can say ask blue fairy or whatever. You actually have to click them, and they're flying very close together in constant motion. So it's a not so fun game in that regard. But the rest of it seems very fun. So if you've played Dragonsphere, feel free to say something in the comments down below, because I'd love to hear your take on it. And as you can see, I die quite frequently despite using my own map, which may say something about my mapping skills. So in the emeralds room, you can pick up 2 emeralds there. If you haven't figured it out yet, the glowing sphere people thing, they are the ones who will help you get across that ravine that we saw earlier. So I've got all 5 rocks now, and I just need to make it back towards where the gate sealed. So there's the floaty people. And then to help the floaty people in the pedestal thing between them, it's missing a stone, so you need to find, I believe it's called the moonstone, because they're like the twilight people, whatever. Alright, so you can see there's the scale. He'll go over here and he'll chuck it, and he'll say, this is easy. Then he does it from behind the back, and then he bounces it off the wall. Feeling fancy, he closes his eyes, throws it over his head, and it misses. So that's why you need 5. I thought that was great. So after the 5th one, you can come out, recollect your belongings. So, just like old tradition story, you throw a coin in the well, and what happens? Typically you make a wish, and in this case the well fills up, but gives you a moonstone. And what did I just say a moment ago? For the twilight people, you need to show them, or you need to put the moonstone in the pedestal. So we're going to save, go back in. Now, ideally, you're not going to have to worry about picking any of the berries, because you've already lit the way to the twilight people. So as long as you go the right way, it should be completely safe. If you're not 100% sure, if you're not using a walkthrough or a map of some kind, I would strongly recommend picking up the berries anyway, just in case you happen to walk into the wrong screen that doesn't have a berry already in there. So here we are, we put the moonstone inside, and they say, oh, that's great. And you see the altar behind them is a moon, and boom, you now have the purple power. So let's check out what the purple power does. Turns you into a floating disc, which now means that area in this cavern that you could not cross over because there was a huge gaping crevice thing that you would have to try to get across, you now have the ability to cross. And the good thing is, while you're in this form, I should add, you can go into sections of the room where there is no berry, but you only have so long in this form. Like, you can't stay infinitely in this form. And so now we're in this other screen, which is lava. And the scroll that you got earlier is a ice scroll, so you can cast it to use it. And oh, there's a key here. It's funny, I said weird, no fire thing, but I'm alive, but it's because I have the fire bush in my inventory. I realized that just before I hit save, which is why I backspaced. But again, as long as you're in this form, it doesn't matter if it's lit. For example, these screens here, you can see there is no fire bush, but you are able to survive in this form. But again, this form does not last indefinitely, so you can't just freely wander around and accidentally go into a room like this where there is no fire bush and your form stops, because then you perish. So here's where you get to cross just by clicking north, and you can proceed out of the cave. So now, one thing to note, you can eat the apple, and he'll say, oh look, there's half a worm inside. Make sure you do not eat both apples. So he was walking, gets hit by a branch, and there is this very pushy woman who reveals a very big secret to our main character, Brennan. It turns out he is indeed the prince. And she says, hey, I need you to help me. Malcolm is loose. We need to make a potion. Go out and get me some magic water out of the fountain. So there is a fountain to the west of where she's at. She gives you a bottle, and this is a safe place to drop some inventory items if you wanted to. Literally anywhere is, but this is a screen that you're going to keep coming back to, is what I mean by that. If you need more bottles, every time you exit and come back, there'll be another one here, even if she is not here. So there's the example where I said you could eat the apple, just make sure you don't eat both, because you'll need an apple later. So she's told you to go get water from the magic fountain. Let's just head over here. Ow, look who's here. Malcolm. Malcolm's like, oh, you want some of this magic water for a magical spell? Well, let me do something about that. And he destroys the well. So now we got to fix the well, right? And that will give us our blue power. That I now remember. The person in that door will come into play a little bit later. So now there's a blueberry bush here. Now, one thing I will say is our good friend, the wizard who told us to go get water from the magical water fountain, if you pretty much don't go directly back to her, if you wander too many screens, she'll actually say, hey, these blueberries aren't fresh. Oh, there is a fire thing, and remember, I didn't do it here, but if you happen to get there and you have that scroll, you can actually use the scroll to cast it on the fire. But I was too busy just wandering around aimlessly, getting these blueberries. But she'll tell me, these aren't good enough. As I said, if you come in and out, you can keep getting these flasks. There was a point where I had a bunch of stuff on the ground and I was coming in and out. I needed more flasks and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't happening. What was happening is the flask was appearing behind some of the inventory items. So I had to take some of the stuff and drop it, on the screen just outside and then the screen just to the left of that. Because I was stumped. I was literally just walking around like, where do I get another flask? I need more flasks. And that's where he hid the crystal for the fountain. So now that we have the crystal that he took, we can go back, replace the crystal, and get a flask of water. So she's used the flask of water that we gave her. Here's a clue. We're going to need that flask again to get more water. But I do wander around quite a bit, forgetting that that's where the blue power comes from. This is the problem of not mapping this area, is now I have blueberries. I gotta run back, pretty much almost be, as far as I know, you have to be on the same exact screen. Or it might be a trigger, like maybe you have to get the water first, because something's gonna happen where she won't be present. And basically you're gonna have to take over. So it might be that the water has to be triggered first. Yeah, so now she's gone. So if you click if you might have noticed on the rug, it was kind of crumpled. If you click the rug, it reveals that there's a secret passage. If you click in the tree stump, because you should always click in the tree stumps, that's what King's Quest taught me, you'll find a rainbow stone. And there's more stones scattered throughout. Now you'll want to pick actually two of those flowers that you can see to the left. I definitely feel like this game deserved way more attention than it got. Not only is it very witty with the dialogue and everything like that, and the characters are very, very fun, especially being voiced like they were. A lot of times when you get a voice acting game from, late 80s, 90s, whatever, the voice actors don't sound super great. I felt like this one It's very professional. Like, sounded so good. And the music in this game is absolutely fantastic. Like, it is great music. And you'll see that at times, just like there, you can only drop so many items on a single screen. So if you're needing to drop inventory items, you will need to go to multiple screens to do so. This part of the game, I'm actually doing in complete error. I had thought there were still inventory items that I left on the other side. It's a quick trip. It's literally down, left, 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 left. But I had thought I left some stuff on this side, but there wasn't. So I end up going right back. If you go north, there's just fire berries there. So to cross the bridge, it's just to the right. Go through this area again. Go to the north, to the right, and then up, then right. I've already messed up. See, this is what I mean. At this point, I was not looking at the map. It's literally like go through. It's there. So now that I've restored, I don't need to go all the way back. But I'm going to do it anyway, because I could swear there's still something left on the other side. Oh, that is right. Now I remember why I crossed over the other side. They talk about how you need certain stones need to match certain ingredients that you're matching. So you need some of the stones for creating some spell. Sorry, not spells, some potions. Right, I feel like I've walked around most of the area looking for the stones. So going back across now, it should just be up, up across. Trying a few things to see if that door is something I can do other than just yell, hey, pipsqueak. And there's a gauntlet just floating like in the air. Seems like a trap that Malcolm would have set up, but it just stays out of reach. Freezing doesn't do it. Playing the pipes doesn't do it. It doesn't want the key. So we'll just make a note of a floating chalice. Spoiler alert, you're going to need the blue power to get it back, but when you get it back, something else happens. I recall that there is a red, a yellow, and a blue potion that you need to make, and you will eventually combine those in a certain place. So I'm trying to organize the gems. As I said, there is literally a lot of wandering around. I would say this was probably the only real downfall of the game, is trying to run around and locate these stones because they are random. It'd be nice if certain stones are only in certain areas. Like, you can find like the ruby is always on that tree, which is true. Maybe this type of thing is always found near water. Maybe this one is always found near like in the forest, and this one is found in a cave. Just something like that where limits if you're looking for a specific stone where you have to find rather than crisscrossing the entire map on all three areas of Kyrandia to try to find one or two stones. Otherwise, I mean, like I said, the maze thing, it's pretty standard. Like a lot of adventure games have that kind of thing in it. King's Quest V had it. King's Quest, wait, 5 or 6? 6 had it. The one with the Minotaur, which is 6. So the maze is something that's kind of there. Like Space Quest had it in a few of them. So the maze is what it is, but the random finding of stones and random locations is unique to Legend of Kyrandia. I thought the game was also very beautifully rendered. Like some of these screens are better than what I saw on Sierra games. So, I mean, they put time and effort into making this a really great game. I will say also that even though I have no partnership with GOG.com, Legend Kyrandia 1, 2, and 3 are available on there, and I believe they typically run maybe $5, I think. I can actually check right now, and quite frequently they're also on sale. So if even $5 seems too much, and really for these games, if you like classic games like Sierra games like King's Quest, using their own advertising, these games are definitely worth it. So right now, as of this moment, right now, all three games are 75% off. So book 1 is $1.49, book 2 is $1.49, and book 3 is $1.49. So if I happen to get this before this sale ends, you can pick up all three for, what is that, less than $5? So am I right? Is that less than $5? Anyway, I'm horrible at math. But yeah, you can pick up all three for $1.49 a piece right now on GOG. Like their normal price is, let me go ahead and check what their normal price is, because 75% in math is really difficult. So their normal price is $5.99, which is definitely worth it for these games. So even if you don't, by the time I finish this or by the time you hear it, the sale is over, whatever, $5.99 still well worth it for these games. But if you can pick them up for $1.49, that's even better. And like I said, they do go on sale fairly frequently. So if you have other games that you're playing right now, and my Amazon is talking to me. Anyway, hold on. Alexa, stop. I love it when Alexa thinks I'm talking to her. She's so invasive. I don't even know if that was getting picked up on the mic, but she was behind me. But yeah, so $1.49 a piece if you want to wait, if you happen to be playing another game at the moment and want to wait to buy these until they go on sale, you can. But again, $5.99 still worth it for each one of these games. A lot of people like Kyrandia 2 the best. It does a pretty good flow with the story. I think because this is their first one, they kind of want to test the waters with Legend of Kyrandia, the first one here. But I think because of its success, I think it did pretty well. I just think it should have done much better because it's such a good game. Like way more people should know about this game. I think the second one, they were like, well, with the first one being successful, they dumped more time and effort and kind of fleshed things out more. So it's a cool story. On the third one, which is Malcolm's Revenge, I think is the weakest one, but it's still a good game. It just plays a little differently. And there were times, because the focus is Malcolm, so he's kind of crazy. So he has a good and a bad side telling him to do things, mostly bad things. So there is that. You don't really play so much the hero, which you do in the first two games. Um, but there you go. So when you drink the magic water, I was too busy talking about the games being on sale. When you drink the magic water, you get the blue power. When you get the blue power, if you go back to the chalice, you can see the blue power there. When you go back to the chalice, you can use the blue power, which will try to summon it to you, and it does. But then a freaking satyr takes your chalice, and you have to. Spoiler alert, we'll get to it. You have to combine some of the potions to create a new potion, but first you have to find that place to combine them. And when you do, you can create this spell that allows you to shrink down and basically go into the satyr's home. I had thought that maybe the flute played a thing because satyrs are often depicted holding a flute and dancing around merrily. So I thought, oh, he'll come out and want to trade the flute for the chalice. No. So this is this part here. This is once again where I'm doing something in error. I was trying to recall where the potion mixing was, and I remember like green gems and stuff like that. But I thought, when we're going through the cavern, I go through that area where I pick up the 2 emeralds, and I was like, is that where it is? Like, is it off like to the left of that screen? Because I remember it being green. It's not. It's nowhere in the cavern. It's actually on the other side of the Kyrandia land that we have access to, but I'm just in the wrong place doing the damn wrong thing. So there's probably a good portion of this that I'm going to speed up after I finish talking about it, that I made a mistake, so that the gameplay is a little bit shorter. But this is this is unfortunate evidence of me clearly not using a walkthrough, or else I would have known it's not in the cave, and it's actually on the outside of the cave in the land of Kyrandia itself. And I'm literally meandering around these caves looking for the gem thing, which I can't seem to find again, pointlessly. So for me, not using a walkthrough, because I like to basically, even though I played this, I want to say it was 2015, 2018, maybe. It's like around that time, somewhere around there was the last time I played. I have a lot of the game set by muscle memory, but obviously I don't have everything by muscle memory. Having played it not too long ago. But I like going through games and not doing the walkthrough. I like looking at the walkthrough after I finished a game, so that I can be like, oh, I could have done this differently, or oh, I missed this part of the game. Like, I missed this. I could have done this over here, and I totally missed this whole cutscene because I didn't do that. So I like looking at stuff I might have missed afterwards. So, for example, if you watched either my long play or the commentary version of Laura Bow, The Dagger of Amun-Ra, when I was playing, I'm literally walking around the museum and stuff like that. I have played that game several times. I prefer the first one, The Colonel's Request, but I had played that game several times, and it wasn't until after I uploaded my playthrough that I said, hey, I'm going to look at a walkthrough. And I think, as far as I remember, it is the first time that I saw it say, hey, just so you know, there are secret passages in the museum similar to the ones that you kind of find in the Colonel's Request, where you can shortcut between rooms by pressing this rock, and this display room opens up this little secret passage. Because in the gameplay, there's secret passages that you obviously find when the murderer is chasing you, but there's actually secret passages you can use while Laura is walking around and investigating. So I had totally missed that, and despite the number of times I've played that game, I think that was the first time I heard that there was actually secret passages in the museum itself. So I had missed that whole thing in the museum. So yeah, sure, a walkthrough would make these videos much quicker and stuff like that. But there's already a lot of people who do that, who basically play these videos and offer solutions to games and play them as a video walkthrough, if you will. That's not what I want to do. I want to just play these games and have fun with them and see what I do wrong, see what I do right, and stuff like that. I will say sometimes that may vex me because there is the example with Lighthouse where apparently something I've done bugs the game when I get to that point where I need to turn the tracks. And what's interesting to talk about Lighthouse real quick is someone else on the Sierra Help forums. If you go to sierrahelp.com/forums, I highly recommend it. I am a co-admin there. It's a great community, just so you know. If you love adventure games or like talking about them, it's a great place. Anyway, someone on there had played Lighthouse like 4 or 5 years ago as well and had used the GOG version. So they had used ScumVM and they had uploaded their save games. So I said, oh, you know what? Worst case scenario, I'll download their save games, kind of look at where they were and see if I can find something close to where I was at. So I downloaded their save games and loaded it. And when I compare the number of items I have to the number of items they have, I see items in my inventory that they don't have. And I'm not talking like 1 or 2. I'm literally talking about 5 or 6 items in my inventory that I don't see in their inventory. And then the part where they get to the part with the child, it'll make sense if you play the game or if you've played the game where you have to rescue the child. They have 2 items in their inventory that I have no idea what they are. And as far as I know, having like played everything and gone to every avenue in the game that I possibly could at that time, I don't know how they got those 2 items. So there's one that kind of looks like a map, and then one that kind of looks like a contraption. So when I asked them, they were like, oh, I don't, honestly, I don't remember. It's been like 5 years, which is fair. I can barely remember a game I played 5 days ago sometimes. So if I do indeed use a restore game, I'll probably put a note in the video saying, hey, at this point, I used someone else's restore game due to the bug that was happening in mine. I don't know what these items are, and I don't know what happened to all the items that I have that they don't have. So I would have to basically kind of go around the game and see what I have access to, what they may have done that I haven't done, or what I did that they haven't done. So I may go that route with Lighthouse, but I'm probably going to do that after I play Legend of Kyrandia 1, 2, and 3. And that Lighthouse game could just sit and wait. Or maybe not, because I seem to think that I'm fairly close to the end, because I've played this game a lot, and I've seen the Dark Being. I've found his lab. I've rescued the baby. So it doesn't feel like there's a lot left to do, but confront the Dark Being and defeat him. So I feel like I'm fairly close to the end of that game. So I may just end up doing that restore game after I finish talking about this game. So it may go Legend of Kyrandia 1, restore that lighthouse from the other person's save game, try to finish it, and then go to Legend of Kyrandia 2, Legend of Kyrandia 3. So anyway, in all that talking, if you were paying attention to the video, you'll see that I now have 2 red potions, 2 yellow potions, and 2 blue potions. This is a funny death, which is what I saved the game as. So if you turn into the flight thing and go straight out, a shark whale thing jumps up in the air and eats you. And normally when I quit and start a game, I try to trim that out, but I forgot to do it there. So before you voyage to the other side, this is where you can get stuck. So I highly recommend saving right before you voyage to the other side. And remember when I was talking about the crystal cave, where I remember the green crystals and stuff like that. So save here, and before you mix any potions. And what I would do is I would save it, create a purple potion, for example, and save it as such. And then try the next one, try the next one. So I made it orange, I made it purple. And now I'll try the third one, which is going to be blue and yellow, which give me green. Now what I did is, I believe I did it here, I drink it, and the green is poison. And unfortunately, when you drink the green potion, it does not give you time to restore yourself. So I drank the other two just to see what they do. And you can see one of them shrink me, which I mentioned earlier. We need to shrink ourselves to go get the chalice from this satyr. So that's another place where you can dead end. You can technically voyage across, I think, without getting the chalice, and if you do so, you will dead end. So yeah, you can dead end a number of times. Now that I've said earlier, I don't think you can, and then I started thinking about it, and yeah, you can. Quite a few times, actually. Or quite a few ways. So we shrink down, go in there. And this is what I mean, like, this screen is so beautiful, the way it's done. Like, there's a candle that is, like, flickering in the background. I just thought this was so well done. So we know the flute didn't work, so he says he wants something. So I tried the apple. And again, that's why I said you can't eat both apples. You need one of them. So he says, just go outside and you'll find the chalice. And then we now have the chalice. So there'll be 3 royal items that you will eventually have to collect. Actually, I need that tulip. And this is, earlier I told you can have an inventory item in your cursor and still work. So add that tulip, for example. So recall, this turns you into a Pegasus when you drink the orange thing. And you will automatically fly across. So if you do not have the right items, and I'll give you a clue, right now I don't have the right items. So when you go across there, you're going to want to lay the flower on the woman's grave, which you have already discovered is your mom. She tells you how you have magical power in you. You just need to be awakened. And some of it you're already doing, so guess what? You just got another power. So Malcolm comes down and tells you that your friend who had the saw is somewhere in the house, and he's looking for you. So just keep that in mind, and when you do, make sure you have the yellow spell amulet ready, because that will actually stun him into silence. So this also has a bit of a maze that's coming up. And it's pretty funny, when he goes up the stairs, he makes quite a few little comments every time he runs up the stairs. Again, like the voice acting in this game and the dialogue that's written is really good. So there's your friend, do the other thing, and then you're pretty much good from then on. I don't think it ever wears off, because I wandered around here for a very long time, and he never came back after me. And so the little fish thing that I picked up, I've not looked at walkthroughs yet. I'll probably do it after this commentary thing. That fish thing doesn't get used, as far as I recall. Or, sorry, as far as I remember it being used for anything other than it disappears at the end. Like, all your inventory items that you don't have essentially vanish. So I don't know if that fish is needed as part of, like, a finishing thing or whatever, but it's not used as in stopping anyone or doing anything. Just a random item to pick up, like a red herring, except blue. So when you pull out the books, it'll say, oh, that says like O for opal or D for diamond, and it spells something. So if you click on that, you end up in this stupid maze. And this took me a few tries to remember which way was which. So like writing down directions as to where I'm going. And you'll see that I think I restored 2 or 3 times because I can tell that I'm clearly lost. Like I'm trying to write this down and it's not working out. So there's that wall. What you're going to do here is use your blue power, which I don't get it. Like I would have liked it because it pulls the goblet to you earlier. I would have liked it if this like pulled that wall down, like that magical wall or something, kind of like did this shattered glass sound. But I just remember it was a spell that you needed to use, and it clearly wasn't going to be the healing or the other two. So it was the blue one. So when you end up going the right way, you end up pushed back out. And what you want to do is you want to pull the books in a specific order that spells a specific word. Now, I'm not going to say it in the walkthrough or in this talkie version, but if you watch the long play version, it'll actually spell something and you get the crown, which is what I just did. So you wander around and you're going to end up in another room. Not even sure what this room is considered, but there is something here to get, and it is the 3rd royal item. So just click around furiously, and even though that looks like a door to the upper right in front of where he's standing, it's not. And that confused me for a while because I kept trying to click up in there thinking it's like a closet or another doorway. Yeah, so every time. So this bell thing took me a minute. I had to hit each one because it doesn't really give you a clue, so there's a few tries. So I put the flute on the floor because I know this has to do something, so I start just clicking a few times and I actually get it. Going first to last to third to second. And as far as I know, there's literally there's no clue, but what you do find in there is a key. So now we have 2 keys, and there's double doors down there that are locked. So as you might guess, we now have the keys to unlock said door. So when he does it, he goes, hey, it works, but it's still locked. Well, yeah, because you need the other key. You can see there is a door there. But you have to put the things in order, which is scepter, crown, and goblet. And then Malcolm appears. And he'll try to kill you once you go inside the room. He pushes you a few times and then you punch him in the face. Give him a warning. You say, I don't want to punch an old man. But see, all your items disappear right there. And you have a very limited time. You have to turn invisible. And then you run behind the mirror. It reflects against Malcolm. The bird with the injured wing flies down, tilts Malcolm over. You amazingly get home very quick. I'm not even sure how, because you needed to be a Pegasus to fly over. Find out that your grandfather is no longer stone. The tree says, hey, everything in nature has been restored. And we reach the end. Like I said, I highly recommend this game. If you've not played it, if you have played it, play it again. And if you already own it, buy it on GOG. Show support for this type of game. I get nothing out of it. I have no affiliation with GOG, unfortunately. But it's a good place to pick up these games for a very cheap price, especially if, like right now, they're on sale. All right, thank you. Please click like and subscribe. Tell your friends about this channel, and I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks. Have a wonderful night.